Mr. Secretary General, thank you so much for your time today. So the experts who wrote this report recommend that you take this to the International Criminal Court, but you need a member country to do so. Who's willing to present the case?
First of all, it's great to be here and to have the possibility of this interview. And of course, we are going to submit the report directly to the International Criminal Court. That is one of the recommendations of the panel of experts. The second thing that we are doing is working with the member states and some observers of the Organization of American States in order to convince them to refer this report to the ICC. We are planning to work this from now on to till September, and we expect to have supporters in this for this case. In any case, we are working very hard, and we have already received some interest from member states, so we are moving very fast about this matter.
So are you saying that you will refer this report to the ICC by September?
No, we are going to send it today directly, and we are going to work from now to September in order to achieve supporters that may refer the case under the Article 14 of the ICC, and that it will be some member states for sure will go before August or September, some of them after that date.
So what do you expect to happen once the ICC actually opens an investigation into Mr. Maduro and his regime?
We expect justice. All this is not a political movement, or is not a political approach. What we are looking is justice for the victims. This justice that was denied by the Venezuelan regime during these years. Those victims of torture, rape, political imprisonment during these years. Those relatives of victims that have been killed during these years, during demonstrations or in extrajudicial executions. So we have quite a wide spectrum of different aspects of this report, where we want this to deliver justice to the victims. That is our approach. It is a very hard report. It is very hard to read. I mean, these are words that try to make justice with what happened, but knowing the cases and delivering here this very human approach, but also read on legal basis, we expect justice. That is what we want.
The U.S., on its part, issued sanctions before and after the Venezuela elections, but stopped short of, in fact, imposing sanctions on the oil industry. Do you expect the U.S. to target Venezuelan oil? And if so, what will be the catalyst for oil sanctions?
We expect harder sanctions from United States, Canada, and the European Union. We want also Latin American states to join these sanctions and make it even harder for the Venezuelan regime. We want at least 2 more rounds of sanctions, some of them targeting the oil industry of Venezuela. We have the knowledge also that the worst sanctions that have been done against the oil production in Venezuela has been done by the PDVSA during the last years. That because the decline of production is practically to a minimum level of the 20th century. It's even below that, and so what we have is a case where the worst sanction against the Venezuelan people is 6 more years of the government of Maduro. We need a democratic transition because the country needs solution to get out of the humanitarian crisis that it's facing.
You talk about the Venezuelan people, of course, are already reeling from hyperinflation, shortages of food and medicine. So given this background, how long do you expect Mr. Maduro to stay in power?
Look, we cannot make futurology in those terms. What we have to do is to work as hard as we can to recover democracy for Venezuela, and work as hard as we can. It means to provide stronger sanctions against the regime and to make the regime to bring a democratic transition that will help the stability, security of the region, but mainly will help the Venezuelan people.
This is not the first report that your organization has put out on Venezuela, though. How optimistic are you that this will actually help in pushing Venezuela to restore democracy?
The other reports were we had a different approach. It was based on mainly on the obligations of Venezuela related to Inter-American Democratic Charter. This report is completely different, a different kind of pressure. We are seeking for justice, and that to have a criminal accusation against the main authorities of the regime. Of course, maybe a process that may take some time, but is an incredible source of pressure. And these accusations have brought some possibility of peace agreements in the past, like we have mentioned about when the accusations started against Karadzic or Mladic, that we saw the possibility of their decrease of leadership, and of course made it easier for peace agreement. In this case, we expect the same. We expect a strong approach of the ICC in order to provide justice to Venezuela, and of course, in that sense, to be able to have a better possibility for a democratic transition.
There has been an outpouring of Venezuelans into Colombia, into Brazil. What's the potential that this could escalate into a major regional crisis?
Yeah, it is escalating a major a humanitarian crisis and security and stability. The Venezuelan regime is a problem for the stability of the region and for the security of the region. There are connections to drug trafficking, there are connections to organized crime, there are connections to terrorism. It's all something that gives a very clear indication that this regime is not good for the continent and the stability of the region. But Venezuela is a country in free fall at the social level, at economic level, at financial level, production, humanitarian crisis. So, and this free fall doesn't reach any bottom. So we expect the situation to deteriorate even faster in the next months, and that makes very necessary for the international community to have stronger actions against the Venezuelan regime.